The sun hung low on the horizon as Amara packed the last of their luggage into the trunk of the car. She glanced at her 5-year-old daughter, Ada, who was dancing around excitedly, singing a Christmas carol. It was their first trip to Amara's hometown in 7 years, and Ada was brimming with anticipation. "Mama, will I get to meet all your friends?" Ada asked, her bright eyes wide with curiosity. "Yes, my love," Amara replied with a smile. "But remember, be polite and don't take anything from strangers without asking me first, okay?" Ada nodded earnestly, though her attention quickly shifted to a bird fluttering in the trees. Amara sighed softly. She knew how excited Ada was, and she hoped this trip would bring them closer to her roots without any trouble. They arrived in the village just before sunset. The air was crisp, and the distant sound of drums filled the atmosphere. Relatives gathered around to greet them, their faces lit with joy. Ada was especially thrilled to meet her grandmother, who enveloped her in a warm embrace. The days leading up to Christmas were filled with festivity. Ada spent her time exploring the compound, playing with other children, and enjoying the cheerful songs of the villagers. Amara watched her daughter's happiness with a mix of pride and concern. Ada was naturally curious and trusting, qualities Amara feared might lead to trouble. On Christmas Eve, the villagers hosted a grand feast. The air was heavy with the aroma of roasted yam, spicy soups, and freshly brewed palm wine. Everyone gathered in the square, sharing stories and laughter. Amara had been distracted chatting with an old friend when Ada ran off to join a group of children. An elderly woman, who Amara vaguely recognized from her childhood, approached Ada with a bowl of steaming jollof rice. "Here, little one," the woman said with a kind smile. "This is for you." Ada hesitated for a moment, remembering her mother's warning, but the delicious smell overpowered her caution. She accepted the bowl with a shy thank you and began eating. When Amara noticed Ada eating from the stranger's bowl, she hurried over. "Ada, what did I tell you about taking food from people?" she scolded gently, taking the bowl away. The woman chuckled. "Don't worry, my dear. It's just food. She'll be fine." Amara forced a smile, but couldn't shake the unease settling in her chest. That night, as the household settled down to sleep, Ada's cries pierced the silence. Amara rushed to her room to find her daughter writhing on the bed, clutching her stomach. "Mama, it hurts," Ada whimpered, tears streaming down her face. Amara quickly called for her mother and other relatives. They tried everything they could think of, herbal remedies, massages, and prayers, but nothing worked. As the hours dragged on, Ada's condition worsened. Her once bright eyes now seemed dark and distant. By dawn, Ada's cries had stopped, but her silence was even more chilling. She stared blankly at the ceiling, her lips moving as if she were whispering to someone unseen. Amara's heart pounded with fear. "We need to see the village healer," her mother said gravely. The healer, an old man named Baba Chike, lived on the outskirts of the village. His home was filled with jars of herbs and animal bones hanging from the ceiling. He listened intently as Amara described Ada's symptoms. After examining the child, Baba Cheek's expression darkened. "She has been marked," he said, his voice heavy with foreboding. "The food she ate was cursed. Someone has placed a dark spirit within her." Amara's knees buckled, and she clutched a nearby chair for support. "Is there a way to save her?" she asked desperately. Baba Chiki nodded. "But it will not be easy. The spirit must be cast out before it fully takes control of her. Bring her back tonight, and we will begin the ritual." That night the family gathered in Baba Chike's hut. Candles flickered in the dim room as the healer prepared for the exorcism. Ada sat in the center of a chalk-drawn circle, her face pale and expressionless. Baba Chike began chanting, his voice rising and falling like waves. He sprinkled herbs over the child and waved a smoking bundle of leaves around her. Suddenly, Ada let out a guttural scream that seemed to shake the very walls of the hut. Amara watched in horror as her daughter thrashed against an unseen force. Baba Chiki continued chanting, his voice unwavering. "Leave this child," he commanded. "She belongs to the light." The air grew cold, and the candles flickered wildly. Then with one final scream, Ada collapsed to the floor, unconscious. When Ada awoke, her eyes were clear and her voice was soft and sweet again. "Mama," she said weakly, reaching out for Amara. Amara pulled her daughter into a tight embrace, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered to Baba Chik. The healer nodded solemnly. "The spirit is gone, but you must be careful. Evil often hides in plain sight. Teach your child to be vigilant and protect her always." As they prepared to leave the village, Amara couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and guilt. She had let her guard down, and her daughter had paid the price. From that day forward, she made it her mission to teach Ada the importance of caution and discernment. Back in the city, life slowly returned to normal. But every Christmas, Amara would tell Ada the story of their trip to the village, ensuring she understood the dangers of blind trust. It became a cautionary tale, a reminder that not everything offered with a smile is good. And though Ada grew older and wiser, she never forgot the price of that cursed feast or the love of a mother who would do anything to protect her child.